아니 직접 하시는 것 같아요. 잘 어울리세요 지금.
자, 오늘 둘이 하세요.
네. 자 일단 가시죠. 아 진짜 편하다.
너무 편해, 너무 편해, 너무 편해. 아, 근데 우리 갓파더는 어디 계시는 거야?
갓파더? 아 뭐 재미난 거 들고 오신다 그랬는데.
그러니까.
저 어릴 때 생각하면 옛날 얘기.
잠깐만요.
뭐요?
아 독수리연을. 아 이유를 알겠다. 여기 바람이 많이 불잖아요.
그러면 날아.
와, 대박.
네네.
이런 날려본 적 있어요?
예 어렸을 때 그거
어렸을
가지고
때
놀았죠.
날려봤죠.
예.
아니, 그러면 여기 조금 내려가서 한번 날려봅시다.
네,
이쪽에.
여기 잠깐만요.
네.
야 너무 잘 나간다. 네. 잘 날른다. 와. 와. 됐다. 네, 이거 날리다 보니까
네.
우리 첫날 왔을 때.
안 돼!
아 그때 땡기셔야 되는데 이거 감으셔야 되는데.
네.
우리 그 첫날 왔을 때
네.
그거 아시죠? 우리 그 낙하산에 매달렸던 거. 약간 그 느낌인데 지금. 와 잘 날린다. 오. 여긴 바람이 좋으니까 야 쭉쭉 올라가네.
야, 근데 시성 씨 연이 엄청 잘 날리네요.
아 어렸을 때
네.
저희 동네 또래가 많이 없으니까 유일하게 놀 수 있는 방법이 연날리기밖에 없었어요.
아, 진짜?
제가 직접 그 대나무 있잖아요. 대.
네.
그거를 깎아가지고 가오리연도 많이 만들고 방패연도 많이 만들고.
와, 방패연.
네.
저는 가파도 오니까 너무 어린아이가 된 것 같아요.
약간 동심의 세계.
네, 뭐랄까, 막 뛰어놀고 싶고 막. 야, 이 가파도가 되게 새로운 섬 같아요.
저도 처음 와봤는데
네.
이렇게 매력이 있을 줄 몰랐어요.
제주도에 자연 중에 하나가 오름 알죠? 오름.
그렇죠. 다 봉우리를 오름이라고
왜 아까 왜 오름 뭐 되게 좋아했었잖아요.
네네.
제주도에 한 350여 곳의 오름이 있는데 여기가 서쪽 대표 오름, 금오름입니다. 여기가 노을 맛집이에요.
지금 딱 낙조 떨어지는
네, 그래서 지금 사람 엄청 많죠.
네. 아니 근데 저는 뭐 오름을 떠나서
네.
옆에 보이는 지금 제주 한지방이 보여가지고 여기도 금강산도 식후경인데 원래 제주도 한지잖아요.
사줘요?
좀 사줘요.
알겠어요.
좀 돌아다녔더니 배고파가지고. 일단 나왔습니다 한지.
되게 맛있어 보이.
귀엽다. 형님 먼저.
아, 감사합니다.
아 너무 귀엽다.
어이, 맛있겠다.
와.
야, 이거 뭐 되게 많이 들어갔다.
많이 안에 살짝 그 한치 맛이 좀 있네.
이거는 진짜 아이들이고 어른이고 다 좋아하겠다. 이거는
아 이거요?
이건 뭐예요?
당근요.
그런데요. 맛있는데?
맛있는데? 근데
응.
이거는
많은지 줘야죠.
말?
예?
이거 말당근이에요?
저희 지금 말밥을 먹고 있는 거예요 지금.
상관없는데 그거를.
그러면 말한테 한번 가볼까?
그럼 이거 한번 들고 가서.
나 이거 좀 먹고 싶은데.
아 그죠. 있어. 조랑말.
안녕하세요. 이 친구 이름은
금악. 저 친구는 오름. 금악 오름이에요. 여기가 금악 오름이니까.
예. 원래 지형이 금악오름이에요. 금악.
아, 여기가 그러면 금악리예요.
네, 금악리. 이렇게 주면 돼 그냥. 앞에
그냥 주면 되죠?
이 앞으로 옆으로 와서 이렇게 주면.
잘 먹는다. 야.
잘 먹는다.
이번에는 오름이.
자, 오름이 자.
와.
자, 오름이. 어우.
야 오름이.
금악 오름의 초입에 얘네들이 거의 지킴이네.
마스코트죠 여기 또 마스코트.
마스코트네 완전히. 안녕.
잘 있어. 야, 여기가 금오름. 저기 위에도 능선에도 지금 사람들 다 위에 올라가 있고.
그러니까 여기가 노을 맛집.
노을 맛집. 저쪽 위가. 근데 저기 안에도 뭐 산.
약간 뭔가 생태계
그런 거 있지
보호구역 같기도 하고
네.
그래서 제가 전문가 한 분을 모셨습니다.
전문가요?
네. 안녕하세요.
안녕하세요.
네, 안녕하세요. 반갑습니다.
송보입니다.
아, 예.
네,
목장 주인이에요.
목장 주인. 여기를
이 목장이 아니라 오름에 있는 그 약간
소도 키우고 말도 키우고.
아.
근데 여행자들이 많이 오니까 소와 말은 안 키우고 여행자들에게 개방을 시켰고 다른 곳에 또 목장이 있어요.
그쪽으로
그 곳에서만
옮겼구나.
이제 소를
그럼
키우죠.
예전에는 이제 사람들한테 개방하기 전에는 이곳에서 다 소랑 말들이 다니면 다 풀 뜯어 먹고
그렇죠.
밑에 내려가서 물 마시고
물 마시고. 그리고 지금 이제 연못에
네.
소들은 안 먹고
네.
맹꽁이나 이제 제주도롱뇽, 그리고 개구리.
아, 이 안에 저기 그 연못 안에 맹꽁이랑 도롱뇽이 살고 있는 거예요?
어마무지예요.
와, 여기 저기 황혼 보이세요? 와, 노을.
대박. 몽환적이다라는 말이 딱 맞네.
이 앞에 봤을 때 약간 꿈꾸는 것 같아요 지금.
노을 밑으로 별이 내렸잖아요.
이거 뭐야? 저기 다 배예요?
별이에요.
별.
The children are sleeping behind the door. Brown leaves are falling out
약간
on
얼굴 흑달이 된.
역광이 되게 심하네. 저는 시그니처 포즈가 있습니다.
아, 잠깐만요. 좀 이렇게,
목이.
좀 이렇게 찍어드릴게요.
목이.
와, 이거 기가 막히게 찍었다.
우와.
저 멀리 보이는 것들이 다 구름이잖아요. 와, 거기 밑에 다 별들.
shine by the window.
We change today, inspiring daily life. We create tomorrow, inspired by innovation. Change today, create tomorrow. Lotte.
Time to set the facts straight. Get Korea right.
안녕하세요. 저는 인도네시아에서 온 관광 회원 무티아라 하이라니입니다. 반갑습니다. 인도네시아에 왔을 때 한국 드라마를 즐겨봤어요. 그러다가 한국에 와서 대학을 다니게 됐어요. 한국 사극 드라마도 즐겨봤어요. 왕과 왕비가 살고 그리고 신하들이 그 회의를 하고 그리고 궁녀들이 일하는 그런 궁궐에 관심이 생겼어요. 제가 제일 좋아하는 궁은 경복궁입니다. 그런데 AI한테 경복궁 그림을 보여달라고 했더니 그 엉뚱한 그림을 보였다는 제보가 있었어요. 예를 들면 궁 앞에 강이 있고 나룻배가 있다든지 산 꼭대기에 있다든지 이런 오해들. 제가 직접 경복궁을 소개해 드릴게요. 같이 갈까요? 경복궁은 대한민국 역사와 문화의 중심지로 여겨져요. 조선시대 왕실의 그 위엄과 격식을 제대로 알 수 있는 곳이거든요. 또 경복궁은 외국인 관광객이 많이 방문하는 그 서울의 랜드마크 중 하나입니다. 제가 경복궁을 사랑하는 이유 이제 아시겠죠? 한국에 대한 잘못된 정보를 바로 찾는 일, 여러분도 함께 해주세요.
President Lee Jae-myung is set to attend the Korea-Singapore AI Connect Summit this afternoon over in Singapore, where leaders from both countries will discuss cooperation in artificial intelligence and launch a new Korea-Singapore AI alliance aimed at jointly leading the global AI market. While we wait for the event to begin, here in studio in Seoul, we are joined by Professor Yang Jun-seok. Professor, it's good to have you with us.
Happy to be here.
So AI Connect Summit it doesn't sound too familiar to me. What will this summit be about?
Okay, well, this will be a summit where President Lee, as well as the Singapore Prime Minister, as well as various ministers who are related to AI, will meet with about 150 AI experts, businessmen, researchers in both Singapore and Korea. So people who will be attending include the Chief Technology Officer of Paradetus Grab, which seems to be a portal site in Singapore, researchers from National University of Singapore and from Korea's side, Kim Jae-won from Alice Group, Jo Jun-hee, who's the chief of the Korea AI software industry group, and so on. So they'll be meeting a wide range of people, both related to business side and research side of AI.
So hopes are high that tight cooperation between Singapore and Korea will happen in terms of AI. Now, the question is, how advanced is Singapore really in terms of artificial intelligence? Where are they?
Okay, well, a lot of people have commented, not just Koreans, but they've commented that perhaps in terms of level of technology, perhaps Korea is, you can make an argument that we're ranked third in terms of just technology level. But there's an interesting index made from the global Stanford Institute for Human-Centered AI called Global Vibrancy Tool, and that ranks different categories, 6 categories on how they're doing in AI, and then they make an average index out of those categories. Korea's ranked 4th. The first is obviously the United States. The second is also obviously China. Third is India. Then Korea is ranked 4th. And Singapore is ranked 6th. The United Kingdom is ranked 5th. The interesting thing, though, is that Singapore ranks especially high in terms of talent. In fact, if you just take the talent category, they're ranked 1st above China and the United States. Korea, we're ranked 4th, but we're 1st in none of the subjects, I'm afraid.
Really?
So in some sense, you can say that Korea is balanced. On the other hand, Korea perhaps is not on the forefront of any single category, but Singapore does seem to have a lot of talent pool. In fact, compared to even the United States, they seem to have an absolute advantage in terms of talent. So if Korea can tap into that talent, then obviously that would be great for Korea's AI industry. Korea has advantage in infrastructure and public opinion. So people are very looking forward to using AI. Korea is one of the top users of ChatGPT. And in order to get ahead in the AI, you need a large market. Partially, AI is still developing, and the way it develops is basically talking with a lot of customers, using a lot of databases. So the more people you talk with, the more database you use, the better your AI model is going to be. So if we can tap into that talent pool that Singapore has, as well as the fact that they are much more of a global hub than Korea is, then Korea can perhaps have a much better AI industry. And again, same thing for Singapore. They're not ranked very high in terms of infrastructure and public opinion. So if they can make the right deal, then it could be very mutually beneficial.
I see. Well, it looks like President Lee Jae-myung has entered the venue to deliver his remarks. Now, for those of you joining us on Arirang TV, we are covering special live coverage of the South Korea-Singapore AI Connect Summit. Now, over in Singapore, currently President Lee Jae-myung is in Singapore on a state visit. And on day 2 of his state visit, he held the Singapore held An opening ceremony for President Lee Jae-myung, and now the South Korean leader is at the Korea-Singapore AI Connect Summit, where the two countries are expected to discuss to broaden their cooperation in the field of artificial intelligence. It looks like he's about to deliver his remarks. We'll come back afterwards.
을 논의하는 뜻깊은 자리입니다. 각 분야의 리더들과 함께 양국이 어떻게 협력을 강화해 나갈 수 있을지
both countries, we will discuss what will be seen in front of us.
네, 그럼 오늘 본격적인 토론을
Now
진행하기에
we will
앞서서
begin
대한민국의 이재명
the panel discussions, and
대통령님의
before moving on
모두
to that, we will have the
듣도록 하겠습니다.
President Lee Jae-myung to deliver a keynote speech.
대통령님의 모든 말씀이 있겠습니다.
대한민국과 싱가포르의
Those who are leading the AI industries of the Republic of Korea and Singapore, business leaders, researchers, and young innovators, it is a pleasure to meet you. I find it deeply meaningful to meet you at the Korea-Singapore AI Connect Summit, which will open a new chapter in the future of our two countries. We now stand at the very center of a great civilizational transformation driven by AI. AI is transforming industrial structures, jobs, and even our daily lives, as well as a strategic asset that has become a core engine determining national competitiveness. This is precisely why countries around the world are devoting their full efforts to securing AI capabilities. Amid these sweeping waves of change, it is both inevitable and most welcome that Korea and Singapore, nations with world-class AI capabilities, have joined hands. Our two countries overcame the limitations of land and resources through the power of people and technology, and achieving prosperity through relentless innovation, an experience we share together. Now is the time to extend that DNA of innovation into the AI industry and together open new horizons for the digital economy. Through the AI cooperation framework, the government of the Republic of Korea will actively support the organic linkage of capital, technology, talent, and industry to ensure that substantive cooperation takes place. First, by 2030, we will establish a global fund worth $300 million in Singapore. This will serve as a primary driver in accelerating the global expansion of AI companies from both countries and in building an ecosystem of joint growth centered on innovation. I hope that young entrepreneurs and startups from both countries will share their spirit of challenge and passion, lead the transformation of future industries, and confidently take the lead in global markets. Second, we will support joint research that breaks down national boundaries. Beginning next year, we will fully launch international joint research and talent exchanges so that researchers from both countries can collaborate closely and devote themselves to developing AI technologies that address humanity's most pressing challenges. We will ensure that the cutting-edge technologies secured through these efforts are widely applied across our societies and further expanded into global markets. Third, we will further invigorate the AI industrial ecosystem through private sector-led cooperation. The AI Alliance launching today marks the starting point of an open innovation ecosystem in which companies, universities, and startups share knowledge and resources and collaborate with each other. I believe it will become a solid foundation where creative ideas are translated into reality and young people can contribute to pursue challenge and growth. Cooperation between Korea and Singapore must advance beyond simple technology exchange to a higher level of strategic industrial partnership. By pioneering new markets based on AI and providing broader and greater opportunities for young people, we must leap forward as an innovation hub that represents Asia. The government of the Republic of Korea will serve as a strong supporter so that the young and talented individuals of both countries may freely take on challenge, engage in exchanges, and design the future together. I hope that today's gathering will serve as a starting point where business leaders, researchers, and young people from both countries can communicate freely and concretize their vision of cooperation. I'm confident that the shared growth of Korea and Singapore will go beyond Asia and usher in an age of AI exploration that leads the global AI industry. Thank you.
귀중한 말씀 감사합니다.
Thank you for your remarks.
That was President Lee Jae-myung's opening remarks at the Korea-Singapore AI Connect Summit taking place over in Singapore. Back in the studio here in Seoul, I am joined by Professor Yang Jun-seok. Professor Yang, what did you think of the remarks?
Okay, well, I think the AI was very important for President Lee, not only in terms of economics, but also politically, because he's putting emphasis on AI as the industry of the future. So if you look at not only what he said during the elections last year, but also what he did with this year's budget, he put major emphasis on AI, and this will be a part of that strategy as well. I was interested in seeing that he started a KVCC investment fund of $300 million US.
Right.
And interesting thing is that fund will be used for investment in Singapore. Now, usually when we have presidents going abroad like this, they want to bring funds into Korea.
Exactly, the inflow.
But this fund will be used in Singapore. That seems interesting. And also, I think that in the end will be more beneficial to Korea. Remember what I said earlier, Singapore's big strength is in its talent pool. And AI will depend on high-level talent. So perhaps using this fund, it will induce more cooperation between, not only more cooperation between Korea and Singapore, but it can be induced to perhaps bring some of that talent pool either temporarily or even permanently to Korea, so Korea can develop its talent pool. And if we can manage to do that, I think it'll be very beneficial to Korea as well as Singapore.
Well, I'd like to mention how you called Korea balanced, whereas Singapore has talent. What greater strengths does Korea have to the table to offer in terms of AI when partnering with Singapore?
Well, the biggest strength that Korea has is the memory chips, semiconductors. So Korea is ranked higher in infrastructure. But if you look at category per category, we have a slight advantage in infrastructure, but compared to Singapore, we're far behind in talent. As I mentioned before, if you look at this index, Singapore's talent pool is rated higher than the United States or China. So they do have a lot of talent pool that we can draw on. Korea, we have our own very talented people working in AI, but perhaps there are not as many as there could be, in part because, well, we've all talked about how Korean science-oriented students tend to go to medical school rather than to engineering or pure sciences. So perhaps this will be an opportunity for us to get some assistance from Singapore to develop our own talent pool further and develop a shared technology. And then also Korea is rated much higher in public opinion, which means more usage. And as I said, because AI is still in a development stage and it depends crucially on conversations between customers and the AI models as well as AI developers, Korea may be a better testing ground than Singapore to get these AI models working. So that may be another mutually beneficial area as well, but also for Korea. Obviously, Korea is behind behind on making AI models. I mentioned that a lot of people consider Korea to be in the third place for technology.
As of now.
But we're far behind China and United States. In fact, that's true for everybody. If Korea wants to catch up with the top two, then we'll not only need better technology, but we'll also need a wider market to try our models out and get our models to learn. And Singapore, remember, is a hub country.
Right.
It's a very small country, but it acts as a global hub. So once you develop things in Singapore, that could be used to outreach other Asian countries and maybe even Europe as well. So that might be a channel that's open for Korea through Singapore that may not be open if Korea goes on its own.
Well, it looks like Seoul and Manila have strengths that are complementary to both sides. That's a good thing for sure. Then I'd like to talk about the AI alliance, where this is supposed to be between institutions, firms, and college and startups sharing knowledge. What's the focus of this?
Okay, well, Korea has been attempting to do this, but I think Singapore is much more successful. They have a much more cooperative model between the university, government, and the private sector. Korea's been trying for many years, and we do have university, private sector partnerships, but still, if you compare Korea with some other countries, people in academia tend to stay in academia, people in businesses tend to stay in businesses, whereas in countries like United States, and Singapore is closer to the United States than Korea in this respect, you can go from one sector to another. So the professors can start businesses if they get good ideas.
Less boundaries.
Right. And so perhaps this will give maybe a kick that Korea needs.
That is a good idea to start with, especially when Korea has restricted boundaries among fields and professionals. Now, but Professor Yang, now, after this event, apparently 7 AI joint research and business cooperation MOUs will be signed eventually. Now, what steps should be taken next to realize those MOUs?
Okay, well, MOUs, we've seen them signed in the past, and then they just fizzle away because the enthusiasm goes away after the official visit is over.
Right.
So we do need to make sure that the enthusiasm is still there. We do need to make sure that the enthusiasm and the political support that they had before signing the MOU continues. One thing I was very interested in is these 7 MOUs do not just cover AI, they also cover other sectors as well, digital cooperation. And another thing, interesting thing is small nuclear module reactors. So it shows that Korea is still interested in developing its nuclear power industry. That's going to be crucial if Korea and Singapore is going to keep on developing its AI industry, because as we all know, not only the semiconductor industry, but the AI, even wider AI industry really depends on electricity. And in the United States, where they're building all these AI data centers right now, the biggest barrier right now seems to be, do they have enough electricity? And a lot of people believe that China may have the advantage in the long run because they have much more power capacity. Their power generation is growing much more quickly, and they're using multiple sources. They're not only using their traditional power generation like coal and oil, but they are one of the fastest growing countries where you're using more solar energy. In fact, Texas is doing it as well, and AI industry is expanding in Texas. And and wind energy and other type of alternative energy sources as well. I think if Korea really wants to make AI its core industry in the future, we have to think about energy production, and the fact that we are still interested in developing and exporting the nuclear power, I think shows that this is one channel that we can work on. It does not perhaps affect AI directly. But if you want the AI to develop, this is something that we have to think about. And Singapore is thinking about this as well. Obviously, if they didn't, then they wouldn't have signed the MOU with the nuclear reactors.
Right. Well, I'm glad you mentioned this. AI and nuclear power are just among the many items on the agenda for the two countries to cooperate. Before I let you go, Professor Yang, what other sectors can we see some close collaboration between the two countries?
Okay, well, this was not mentioned, but I really wish that they have more talk about finance. Because Singapore has a very developed financial sector, and Korea can, I think, use a lot of lessons in modernizing even further Korea's financial sector. We've been having a lot of problems with foreign exchange rates, and perhaps looking at how Singapore financial sector acts can help us develop the financial sector as well. Another point I want to make is they're also trying to modernize the Korea-Singapore FTA. And Singapore was the second country that Korea signed FTA with. And in a lot of sense, it is, I think, outdated now.
It's been a while.
Yes, so 2006. And they did some minor modernizing here and there. And Singapore is part of ASEAN, and Korea's export with ASEAN is growing very quickly. Perhaps the modernization with Singapore can also be used as a modernization for ASEAN FTA. And if we're going to be stuck, if we're going to have problems with, say, US or China, ASEAN is the obvious market that we need to expand.
Well, one last question, Professor Yang. You mentioned the intensifying U.S.-China rivalry, right, in terms of AI and on the trade front. Now, how might South Korea's efforts to deepen AI cooperation with Singapore be viewed as a balancing strategy?
Okay, well, when technology is developing, you tend to see a lot of different standards. But then whatever company or whatever model becomes the biggest and more widely used, obviously more global, that tends to set the standard. And once you set the standard, the country that has the standard has a tremendous advantage.
Oh, of course.
Now, I'm not sure if Korea, even with Singapore and some other countries, we can outpace US or China, but we may become big enough so that we have a definite say in how the standards are formed. So that is something that Korea should aim for, along with Singapore and other countries. Obviously, Korea by itself cannot do that, but if we could get enough partners to rally around a common model, Korea, Singapore, ASEAN, and so on, then perhaps we can have a definite say in how those standards are formed.
Right, securing a global position. And Professor Yang, thank you so much for joining us. As always, we appreciate your insight.
Thank you.
We also thank you for staying with us throughout our special coverage of the AI Connect Summit between Korea and Singapore. We'll be back shortly with more details on the event in our upcoming newscast. Stay tuned.
from all over the world. Local consumer prices continue to hover at the 2% rate in April. Turning to robots to allow the visually impaired the chance to better indulge in cultural experiences. Like the number of hybrid cars are registered in South Korea has surpassed 2 million with this locally developed Yuri rocket.
Arirang.
March 1st, 1919. A cry echoed through the streets. Long live Korean independence! A non-violent movement that rose up against Japanese colonial rule. In Korea, we call it the March 1st movement.